What's happening, party people? Madras, Oregon. This is what I'm trying to avoid. Now the roads are nasty. I'm supposed to get out of here today. It's supposed to be 3-4 inches up in the mountain I gotta go past. Wrong side of the mountain. Not good. Anyway, as I said, I'm in Madras. I got a dash out of a Platinum 850 sedan. Gotta put that back in this morning and hopefully get a few more things done for my buddy Jason and try to get back over to Portland, help Greg finish that manual conversion on his 850 T5R, baby. So hope you enjoyed today's clips. Should be 2 days worth. I'm cold. I'm out. Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert. That's me. This video contains things that I encounter throughout the day. If for some reason I complete a task and you would like to see the details, you could click on the link in the description area below. This video also contains tips and tricks that I learned throughout the years. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. Thank you very much for watching. Here we are, folks. T5R. Ooh. Looks like it's got a tuned ECU in it. Because that's not a T5R ECU. But this is a T5R car, baby. Look at that Alcantara. Look at that dark walnut. Look at that Alcantara steering wheel. Man, this thing is ready for a manual conversion. And that's the T5R bent 5.8, baby. So we're going to pull the engine, transmission, convert this thing. We are trucking right along, about 2 hours into it, almost ready to lift this engine out. We have the AC disconnected. We're leaving the subframe and the steering rack, so we got the power steering lines disconnected. Wouldn't be a bad idea to have a couple of plugs and caps. You're going to plug this hole, cap this hole. Now, people ask me, well, let me finish letting you know where we are. We got the heater hoses disconnected. We got the exhaust disconnected. It's going to be replaced. We got the fuel lines disconnected from the back. You want to set that stuff up there where you won't lose it. We got the struts out. We got the CV axles out. We got the mount loose up front there. We got the wire harness loose, except for the, what's that thing called? Knox sensors. Need to unplug the Knox sensors on this thing. May do that when we raise it up a little bit, but it may not be a bad idea to remove the intake manifold so you could deal with the Knox sensors. So we got the wire harness loose from all of the sensors plugged into the engine and the transmission. We have the ground wire loose from the transmission. Got to make sure all those are loose. Got this axle out over here, and we got the O2 sensors loose because they're attached to the exhaust. And we also have the PTC valve plug unplugged. We got the fuel injector rail loose. We got the throttle cable loose. So the only thing that we don't have ready to go, got that bolt right there on top of that mount. We got that bolt on the back mount. We got those two 18mm bolts loose from that torque mount. And we have to take the mount loose from up here. Probably best to take both bolts out. This one here on this torque mount and the one on the firewall mount too. And then take the two ground wires loose. And this engine should be ready to come out with the transmission. We got the P&P switch unplugged, and we got this cable loose, the shift cable loose. So once we get the engine up and out of the way, it'll be easier to deal with stuff going in and out of the firewall, like the shifter cables and stuff like that. And since we're not messing with that steering rack, that's going to be fine the way it is. And then we'll route in the shift cables and stuff like that before we drop the manual transmission in. So 2 2.5 hours, you can have this stuff out, ready to drop the other stuff in. Now, Greg had a couple things removed, and he had it up on jacks and the tires off. That'll add a half hour. 2.5, 3 hours, you can have this stuff out of here. Now, we may have to remove this hood because it is not all the way open because of these rafter things here. So we're probably going to have to pull this out. So we're doing pretty good, about ready to jerk this engine out. Common question people have: Robert, what else should I do when we do the manual swap? Well, how raggedy is your car? Because if your car is raggedy, you may have to do a lot. If your car is maintained, serviced, everything's in good shape, you probably don't have to do nothing. Now, a lot of people like to do performance mods when they decide to do this. So you need to have whatever turbo you want to put on there, whatever flames you want put on there, whatever downpipe or exhaust you want to put on there. If your car has not had the firewall junctions replaced, now's a good time to do a firewall junction. I like the firewall junction. Some people don't. If you haven't had a heater core replaced, perfect time to do a heater core because you'll be messing with that. Now, if your power steering lines are leaking, perfect time to replace the power steering lines. We got one leaking here, but we don't have a line to replace it. You need to be aware of that. If you have throttle cable busted, kick down cable situation busted, you may want to replace that. If you got engine mounts worn or busted, you want to replace those. So your engine mount, like this one here, seems to be in good shape, but if that wire that goes around the engine mount is frayed or broken, you want to replace those engine mounts. You got an engine mount there, an engine mount on the back side, then you got the engine mount up front. This one here is not totally torn out, but it's about ready. Yeah, I take that back. It's totally torn out. That engine mount needs to be replaced. If you have bad oil cooler lines, you want to replace your oil cooler lines or block it off. If you have bad control arms, now's the time to do it. If you have bad hubs, now's the time to do it. If you have bad CV axles, now's the time to do it. If you have bad tie rod ends, inner or outer, you get all this stuff out of here, now's the time to do it. If you have fluid leaks, now's the time to do it. If you're pulling the engine. Now, we got an issue with this engine, so we're pulling the engine and trans while we're doing the manual swap. We're going to put a known good engine in it with a manual transmission. If you're going to do your exhaust manifold, have your exhaust manifold style ready. Make sure that thing is made true at the machine shop so you don't have any exhaust leaks. And if you got a 95 or older, you got an EGR valve there. So you need to be prepared to block that off if your exhaust manifold is not going to have this EGR pipe connection. If you're going to a R manifold or a Japanifold, it won't have that EGR thing like the 94 and 95 cars do. Got to be prepared to swap that out. Got any other maintenance or neglected or extended maintenance need to be done? Now's the time to do it. Hope you understand that. It's all out. 7:40 p.m. We are about to start prepping this thing for the next one to go in. Here we go, people. Time to start tearing out the inside. Whoo-wee, we got a seat we're going to replace here because that thing has a some kind of stress fracture for some reason. We're going to pull the center console out, put the shifter stuff in there. Beautiful walnut trim in here. About to add another pedal, y'all. Whoop, whoop. And my curiosity about gas prices supposedly going through the roof, I noticed this Tesla charging station place at the mall. So I seen a guy look like he had a bunch of stuff hanging out of his car. So I decided to ask him what their fees were for charging and how much he ended up paying and stuff like that. Turns out the guy I decided to talk to is homeless, living in his Tesla. I don't don't know about you, but I think if I had $100,000, I'd probably try to buy a little house versus a Tesla, and then buy a cheap car, because it's probably more comfortable living in a little house in a questionable part of town than sleeping around in your Tesla. But anyway, man, life's getting hard for some of these guys out here. Here we go, folks, back at it. Get that seat out of the way because we're replacing it. Time to get the pedals out. Probably have to pull that amp out of the way and start putting this stuff in on the interior. The 95 cars came equipped with the newer style brake light switch, brake pedal switch. Evidently, the cars 93 and 94 came with that old style. So I'm gonna have to hack into that with that red and yellow wire likely. I'm about to sacrifice the insert on this NA console. It's broken right there. Decent looking piece though, but the ones that we're modifying look better, and this car didn't have one, so we're going to use this as a template so you can see the line that I'm going to cut along, and that way give us a template to have something to make an insert for this car. Look at that nice clean cut. Getting ready to make the other 3 cuts using this jigsaw made by Makita. Cut out this piece out of the manual center console trim, the piece that I normally take and put double-sided tape to and stick on the bottom of the turbo one. I normally try to get a little bit more of a shoulder on this edge and that edge, but the jigsaw I had kind of had a thick blade, so it cut a little bit of that off. But anyway, if you was to go and get something cut, if you don't have access to a 3D printer to get one of these templates cut out of a 3D printer at your local library or something like that, I got the link in the description area that has that file. You can make your own. Here's the measurements here in inches. You can convert that to centimeters or whatever your measurement scale is for your application and your country of use. And this is it right here, folks. That'll get your boot secure for your 850 center console shift boot. This is the engine that's going in. The rear main seal is sweating, so we're going to pull that, replace that, clean that around there, and put on a R exhaust manifold, change some of these coolant hoses, put a 16T on this thing, get this thing ready to drop in. So Greg updated the brake system on this T5R. Over here on the right is your 280s, and over here are these 330s? 320s. Look at the size difference of those things. They come off of an S40. That's the caliper for them. Huge. He said it's noticeable difference. He said he's got stopping power. So I laid the rotors even on one side. Look at the difference in those freaking rotors. 280s to, you say 320s?
320.
Wow. Let's center that thing. That's about center. Look at that. Man, that's massive. The bore is a little different, so you have to take those bigger rotors and get those things opened up a little bit, and the lugs holes have to be drilled out a little, and they'll fit, and you'll be able to run your Titans with them. And on those calipers, what do? You got some kind of special bracket or something?
Yeah, they're DVS. So one goes through in the normal hole, and the other one creates a new hole, basically.
Okay, so you got one bolt that goes through the original hole, and then you got a bolt that goes through that hole for the bracket, and then that goes through the...
Yep. And then you get some PTE braided steel lines to make it all fit.
Okay.
Yep. Powder coated black, just...
Nice. Got that rear main seal out of there, cleaning that up. Getting ready to put the replacement in. Then we'll be ready to bolt on the flywheel and clutch assembly stuff and mount that transmission out. Rear main is installed. Cleaning out the threads and getting ready to put some thread sealer on there when we get that flywheel to go on there. When to get some thread sealant, high temperature up to 400 degrees. Different part number on this one, 59214. So I added that to the description area of my flywheel installation video. We're getting ready to mount this flywheel. We got the rear main seal in and this cleaned up just a little bit, and we're ready to mount this flywheel on. We're also going to clean up this mating surface where the transmission mates to the engine just a little bit, just to make sure we got good contact there. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.